Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Q&A session where hopefully I can answer all your photo related burning questions. First of all, I really want to say that I do hope that you're well and healthy. I know we're going through a really tough time. I've been fortunate so far, but I know a lot of people who haven't. So I hope you are well and that the self-isolation that we have to do is not getting to you yet. So obviously it's a time where a lot of people get time off, whether they want it or not. And even though it might still feel, we have to all adjust to what we're going through, but if you do feel like you've got time and you feel like doing a photo project, of course, then this is a good time to do it. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So I've had one question that I keep seeing that over again all the time, really. And it's people who, when they ask other people, mainly, where do you store your photos? I'm sending all my photos to Facebook and have my albums there. And that's what I do, to not necessarily so much even to share the photos, but just to store them. And when I hear that, of course, as a photo organizer or manager, I'm always cringing, because Facebook is not a good place to store your photos, and I'll explain why. So first of all, you don't own Facebook. They can close tomorrow and stuff will be gone. You can't access it anymore. If you lose your passwords and stuff like that, you can reset it, of course, but there's complications. So you don't own it, and you sort of have to do what they tell you, and they change things all the time. That's one reason. Then the other reason, and that's even bigger, is that Facebook compresses your photo files big time. So you lose a lot of quality. And if that's the only place where you have your photos stored, or some people tell me they back up to Facebook, they send their photos there and they consider that as their backup. Yes, if you lose everything else in terms of photos, it's better to have these files than nothing. Totally agree, but it really is the wrong place to do that, because they make them so small, and then when you download them again, you will have lost so much quality, and that's not a good thing. So what you also lose, if you have any sort of metadata attached to your photos, like keywords or people's names, that's all stripped from the photo. When you upload that to Facebook in your albums or in your photo storage, whatever, it will unfortunately strip all that metadata, so you lose that information. It's really very similar to Google Photos in a way, but Facebook is much worse in that it really makes these files so terribly small that they basically become pretty much worthless. And you might think, oh, doesn't look too bad on my phone. Yes, oftentimes, and that can be really deceptive. When we look at photos on the phone, they look great. As soon as you look at them on a bigger screen or even print them, they will not look so great anymore. So yes, Facebook has its place. So it's of course, a great place to share your photos and to create the albums, and I use it myself too. But not to store them or to back them up. That's definitely not the right place. Just to share, okay? And be also aware that if you're a bit worried about privacy, that you always use the correct settings in Facebook when you share your photos, so that people can't download them or take them and share them and things like that. So there's a whole lot of different settings. You just check them before you go up there and make your photos all public. Now, what is a better option than to save your photos? There are cloud programs, and I've talked about these before, and it comes down to, again, knowing your why. What do you want from your photos? What do you want to do with them in the end? Do you want to do photo books? And again, as I said before, Facebook is great to share photos, but not to store or back them up. So there are much better programs to do that, and there's an endless list. So if we talk in cloud, one really great service is called Forever. You can actually also turn on the automatic camera upload. So when you take photos, it automatically goes to the cloud and it will be full resolution. And a few services like, for example, Dropbox or OneDrive, I know they do that. When you send your photos up to them using the automatic camera upload, they actually rename the files using the reverse capture date, which I always find great because it's, then later you don't have to do it. And it's embedded in the file. So that's not only a good way to transfer photos, I find, but also to store and back them up if need to be. Again, it depends on the settings that you use with these services, because also even there it can go wrong. So it's the key really oftentimes in the digital world is in the settings. One little tick in the wrong place and it can mess up things, unfortunately. So yeah. And when we talk about the cloud in general, not just Facebook, go back to that why, and you will know your workflow, your process, and what you've got in place, your system, and it becomes part of the system, and then it will be a lot easier to choose which service is good for what. And there are a lot, mainly the social media stuff and any free services. That's a bit generalized, I'm aware of that, but they're great to share photos, but not to store or back up. So that shouldn't be your main hub, really. Okay, so that's the question about whether it's a good idea to store photos on Facebook or not. Now, I want to mention I haven't got any questions here yet. So if you do have a question, just type it in the comments so I can see it. And then I'll hopefully be able to answer that. Now, another thing is, and that will be scanning. I'd like to share a few things about scanning, because this is something that has come up recently quite a lot, given our circumstances at the moment. People find, we've got heaps of time at our hand. Now I finally want to tackle that photo project and scan all my printed photos. Now, I want to touch on two things there. One of them is that I've just gone live with a course that will teach you how to sort a printed photo collection and also how to scan it. It's not going to cover how to scan it in details because it will depend on which scanner you use. But what I've done is I have compared different scanners, and I'm showing you options. What is an affordable solution, what is a more expensive solution, what are pros, what are cons, how does it look quality wise. And that's what I actually want to touch on today with scanning, is that oftentimes people scan using a phone app, and I know they've become really popular and of course easy to use. And I just want to say that as with anything, phone apps do have their place. Absolutely, and I've used them before. I've used PhotoMine, is one of them that is specializing in scanning photos with your phone. I think they were probably one of the first. There are different apps out there now that you can also scan with Google Photos these days, and with your normal iPhone you don't even need an app. Now, why am I not a fan of that? As I said, I use it too. So what I use it for is to scan documents sometimes when, obviously I do have other scanners, but to scan a document very quickly, it comes in handy. What I have started to use more recently though is on my iPhone. When I open a new note, I can scan a photo or a document, and you get to choose whether, I think I've looked at so many different apps now, I've lost track. I think in Notes as well you can choose whether you want to scan as a PDF, so that would be for a document, or whether you want to scan as a JPEG. Now, obviously photos you should always scan as JPEG, and documents they're much better off as PDF, especially if they scan PDFs as a searchable document. That means once it's scanned, you can then actually search for a word and it will find it in that document, and that's obviously very handy. So I'm using phone apps for that if I need to be quick, but I wouldn't recommend to use phone apps to scan a complete photo collection. It will just not give you the quality that you want. And in my trials and tests, when I did test with photos, they have some cool things, like for example the one I mentioned before, Photo Mine. You can hold the phone over an album page and it will select, if you've got 4 photos on that page, it will select the 4 individual photos and scan them individually, which is great. However, I found it really fiddly because sometimes it would then not crop them quite correctly, and then you've got to drag corners so it does it right. And I just found it really fiddly. The same is with Google Photos that allows you to scan. I find that a total nuisance because you have to go into each corner of the document or the photo. You have to position the corners before it scans, and I find that really, by the time I've done that, I'm better off using a proper scanner, because once you know how to use it, it's really quick too. So again, if it's got to be quick, why not do that? But if you want to scan a whole photo collection, I really, really urge you to check out the scanners. And as I mentioned, they are all mentioned in that course that I've just put live with sorting and scanning printed photos. And they are actually not as expensive as you might think. One of them, a flatbed scanners, comes at under $200, and you only got to go and check with places that scan photos, like myself, or camera shops or whatever, and you will soon realize that this is a lot more expensive than spending $200 on a really, really good scanner and then investing some time, because that's mostly what you need. It's time. It's not so much the cost, and it's not difficult to do. Once you've got your settings, you've got them. But the scanning as such, that can be a bit time consuming depending on what photos you have. So I just want to urge you not to use a phone app. Please do yourself that favor not to do that if you want to scan a whole photo collection. Because again, it might look great on the screen, on your phone, or even sometimes on the computer, but definitely, once you compare it to a proper scan, and I've done these comparisons, it's shocking. It's, yeah. But again, sometimes that's all we have, and it has to be good enough. It's just when we do a lot of photos, it's not, I don't think it's a great idea to do. Just quickly to sort of summarize, the pros obviously is that it's quick, it's very mobile, and that is one of the advantages. Let's say you go to visit a family member, or you've got a reunion or something, and people bring photos or an album. and you can quickly scan a few photos with your phone app. Okay, so that's, yeah, as I said, sometimes it is good to have. And if that's, 2 or 10 photos, that's no drama. Yeah, of course, go ahead, do that. Um, it's cheap, even though usually it's not. It doesn't necessarily have to be free anymore. A lot of the apps cost. PhotoMine used to be free. For the cheapest plan was free, and then you could upgrade to get certain functionalities. And I think they don't have a free plan anymore at all. Google Photos will be free to scan, so you could try that, or just simply use the phone. And I mean, the simplest would be to just take a photo of the photo with your phone. um, that's a different way to do it. Now, often also it will be cloud based, so you scan the photo and then it sits in the cloud, and then what? So if you do that, at least make sure that you download it as quickly as possible to your computer or to your external hard drive, wherever your photo hub sits, and add it to your photo hub so that it becomes yours, that you've got control over it. You can still leave it in the cloud, that's fine, but make sure that you have a copy, because you need to be in that driver's seat, okay, not some sort of cloud program. That would be my recommendations, how to when you do use a phone app to scan, what to be mindful of. And also when you scan with a phone scanner, make sure that your phone, you hold it straight. It should be on a 90-degree angle. Be aware of glare. That's oftentimes a problem with especially with glossy photos, or if they have still the protection sheet on top. It will be very, very glary, and it's hard to get rid of that glare with a phone camera. Also the angles, sometimes photos tend to curl, and that makes it really tricky too. So these are little things to pay attention. And also, if you do want to go that way, test a few different ones. The ones I've tested oftentimes do automatic color correction, whether I want it or not. And when I did comparisons with a proper scanner, if I can call it like that, like a flatbed scanner or even the high-speed Kodak scanner, the colors look very different. And at first sight you would think, oh, the phone scan looks a lot better because the colors pop, it's very vibrant. But when you look closer, you can see that it's not half as sharp as the others. And that's what you really want, because when you scan, you can always, edit later and change the colors and make them pop. Because you have to usually post-process them anyway. You've got to rename them, tag them, sometimes you have to crop them. So the scanning is not where it ends in the process. So I'm someone who tends to scan without automatic color correction. I prefer to do that later manually, and of course I've got good software to do that, but you can also use really basic software and they do a good job. So yeah, be mindful of that when you scan with cameras. Now if there are no more questions, I'll wrap it up here. Before I go though, I want to just draw your attention to something I posted this morning, and I will pin it to the top of my feed so that it's always there, especially over the next few weeks or months. I've shared a post with specials, with current specials from different photo related supplies and services. So like Memento is one, that's a Sydney company who offers a huge discount at the moment for photo books and recipe books. That's actually a really cool thing, check that out. There's discounts for backup services, and what else was there? Was there another photo book? Yeah, Mimeo, that's for Apple people who use Apple Photos on their Mac. Mimeo integrates into that, and you can create a photo book or cards or a calendar or a whole lot of different things. And I know that a lot of people have complained about Mimeo after Apple has introduced that, but I have printed books since with them and also before that change, and I couldn't see any difference in quality, and I'm still very happy with this services. I'm not an affiliate, so this is just, I get daily emails with these discounts and specials at the moment, so I thought I'd share that with you. So have a look in my Facebook feed and check out these discounts. I'll keep that updated because obviously they're limited. I think one of them ends in a couple of days, but others go for the rest of the month. So I'll try and keep that updated as I get the emails, because if you do want to use the time to create some stuff with your photos, that might actually be a really good thing now, and you can also benefit from these discounts, I hope. Just checking whether I've got more questions. Thanks, Angela, and thanks, Emma. And if there's no more questions, I'll leave you to it, and I shall speak to you again in a month, but never hesitate to get in touch before then if you have any questions. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Take care and stay safe and stay well. See you then. Bye.